These are the faces of a new generation of free journalism. Through the work of the Institute for War and Peace Reporting, hundreds of new reporters and editors are being trained to build peace and democracy through a free and fair media. I'm Christiane Amanpour of CNN, and I know the importance of local journalists in all the countries where I travel. They are colleagues and brave friends, and I've seen and benefited from their work directly. From Afghanistan to Iraq, from Central Asia to Southern Africa, the mission of IWPR is to train local media professionals to report from the front lines of emerging democracies. Under the tutelage of IWPR trainers, many drawn from leading Western media, skilled local journalists provide independent and objective reporting in societies once closed to a free press. Helping to support public debate and build confidence between communities, it's a crucial building block for peace and democracy. Some of the biggest successes in establishing a free press have come in Iraq and Afghanistan, where IWPR has trained scores of new reporters and editors, supported radio programming, and in Kabul established a major independent national news agency. But in a war zone, freedom of the media is a dangerous business for both local journalists and IWPR project staff.
I find it really hard that I'm not able to move around in the country anymore, so I find it really important that the trainees come from all over the country, that they come from Baghdad, from Basra, from Fallujah to our school in Sulaymaniyah to be trained there. But actually this disadvantage turned out to be an advantage, because in Sulaymaniyah we are able to train all Iraqis in one class. We have Sunni, we have Kurds, we have Shiite, which we would not be able to do in Baghdad or in any other place in Iraq.
You try not to think about it too much. You take sensible precautions. We are not a high-profile organization there. Our journalists are fairly high-profile, but we stay in a guest house. We stay below the radar.
Iraq and Afghanistan featured very, very significantly in our minds and our thoughts over the last few years, and so to have Jean and Susanna here, which is really IWPR's response to those dramatic events, and our effort to try to make some contribution is really the best thing that I could bring back to this town.
A recent forum in New York City on IWPR's efforts pointed out the dangers of establishing a free media in areas of conflict. Over 100 journalists have been killed in Iraq since the war began, most of them Iraqis, including some trained by IWPR. Women have faced special risks.
They face very many dangers from insurgents, from the military, from kidnapping, etc.
Because sometimes a byline can be a death sentence to a local journalist who publishes a critical report in the local media, IWPR also provides space for these emerging reporters on its international website, IWPR.net. It's an opportunity for reports, both written and spoken, to be distributed without retribution. Sometimes pseudonyms have to be used to protect the reporter. But it does give local journalists from Kabul, Baghdad and beyond a chance to be heard around the world. Newly trained local journalists also provide assistance to the international media, who often find it difficult to move around a foreign country, to understand its culture or establish local contacts.
The quality of IWPR people over the years has been so consistently high. There are other ways to get fixers and to find local people, but this has proved to be one that is really reliable.
You don't get rich, you don't get famous, because very often you publish your story without a byline. You don't want your name out there, because then you get threats. I think very few media outlets still have journalists in Iraq, and those who have outlets actually work with Iraqi journalists that we have trained, very many of them.
IWPR's core program is to provide journalists with basic skills in reporting and writing. Advanced work covers specialist subjects, from media ethics and investigative journalism to conflict reporting. Ambitious projects establish new local media institutions in crisis areas. IWPR also trains local officials in their responsibilities for working with a free media. This is a particular challenge, especially in countries where the press has been government-controlled and censorship is the norm.
We try to teach our journalists that they have a right to information, because somehow there are quite a few good trained journalists now that we've been training over the past 3 years, but somehow they still face the same restrictions in the government, on the government side, that people are not willing to give interviews to journalists they consider too critical, to journalists they think ask the wrong questions.
It's not easy, it is dangerous, it's been very difficult, but just seeing the effect that their reporting has had on the society around them has really, I think, more than made up for any difficulties that we've had to face.
In war-ravaged countries such as Iraq and Afghanistan, with so much destruction and bloodshed, why is professional journalism so important? Why does a free media matter?
In Iraq, every TV station has its own viewers and every radio station has its listeners all over Iraq, but it doesn't mean they trust it.
If you believe in democracy and free markets, what you have to believe in is that you can have some honest people out there trying to explain the world to the rest of us. It's just never been more important, and there's more of a gap today between the information that's out there that needs to be reported and the resources that are out there to report them.
To learn more about the Institute for War and Peace Reporting and how you can help it to strengthen free journalism in crisis areas around the world, visit IWPR.net or contact IWPR via its main offices in London, Washington or Johannesburg.